What's going on, everyone? So this is my review, as you probably guessed by clicking on the title, Last Christmas. My review for this movie. It's the latest Paul Feig movie. Same guy that gave us Ghostbusters, A Simple Favor, The Heat. He's a director that is very well known in the comedy world, and he's backed up by a cast starring Emilia Clarke, Emma Thompson, Michelle Yang, and Henry Golding. And this is a movie that I was excited for, honestly. I'm a fan of Paul Feig for the most part. I didn't like the new Ghostbusters, but I was still a fan of him. Like, I think he's a good director. I almost forgot Spy. He directed Spy, and I thought that was good. And I also really like Emilia Clarke. Like, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so I was very excited to see what she was going to be doing post Game of Thrones. And also, the premise seemed kind of interesting. I mean, check out this premise. It's a movie about a woman named Kate who works at a department store where she stumbles across Tom, and her life starts to change for the better. So that's a premise that I'm sure you were like, wait a minute, Chad. I've seen that premise 1,000 times before. Yes, but I think that based on the trailers, I was like, okay, it's a Christmas movie, whilst at the same time it's dealing with illness. That could be interesting. And here's the thing. I think that the acting is okay. You know, Emilia Clarke is a joy. She's easily the best thing about this movie. Like, she's in the movie, most of the movie, because I mean she's the lead character, and whenever she's on screen, it's awesome because she gives it her all. You know, like you can tell she's having a lot of fun, and at the same time, it's kind of like it's a nice light role for her. But the rest of the movie's terrible. This is a really bad movie. It's actually kind of mind blowing at how bad this movie is, and I think it kind of comes down to the script. I think that Emma Thompson's script is a huge misfire. I was talking to my one friend after the movie, after the movie, about how we both know, because we've seen like thousands of movies, we both know that when you're writing a movie, it's awesome to have like a lot of subplots going on, as long as it's helping out the main character. It's different, obviously, with a TV show, but for movies, that's how it works. You have a bunch of different subplots that in some way, shape, or form helps enhance the lead character and their arc. But with this movie, it just goes on so many different subplots that don't enhance the characters at all. Neither the characters with what's going on during the subplot or the lead character. And that's why a lot of times it's so cringeworthy just seeing these subplots. Example, you have Michelle Yeoh, she's interested in this one guy, and she calls him boy. Like, maybe it was intended for humor, but I didn't find it funny. I found it cringeworthy. And I think it doesn't help that, again, the dialogue is terrible, I think, in a lot of this movie. Like, a lot of it's kind of not funny in the way that they were intending for. Like, when it's trying to be serious, that's when it's funny. When it's trying to be funny, that's when it's cringeworthy. And it's very confusing for me because Emma Thompson's very talented. She's a talented actress and she's written other stuff. So I just kind of have to wonder what is going on with this movie. It follows, again, the same formula as other romantic comedies where you have two acts where it's trying to be funny, and then a final act where it gets deadly serious. And oh my goodness, when it gets serious, holy cow. So there's a twist that happens in the movie. I'd say about the halfway point, maybe a little bit past that. But when that twist drops, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're actually doing that. And it's not like, oh, it makes you look at the movie differently by going back to it. It's like, oh no, that makes things not work even more. Like, oh, like she was relying on a man to like essentially help her out in life. Like that's bad enough to begin with. But then when you look back at the movie and understand what actually was going on, it's kind of like, that makes things even worse, especially when they don't even really address it after they reveal the twist. And again, I'm being vague, but like if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And I understand that mainstream moviegoers are probably like okay with that. In fact, they probably love it. But like it makes no sense. At the same time, it's also very imperative to the messages that, in my opinion, they're trying to shove. Like this is a movie that it's essentially trying to say that, yeah, we can all get along, and at the same time, like, you know, community is important. And those are all admirable messages, but the way it's handled in this movie, it's so clumsy. It's piled on with terrible dialogue, terrible writing, and you just have, I mentioned earlier, like I even dropped it. You have subplots that drop in and out, and they don't enhance the characters at all. Like, I'll get into that in the spoiler section, because this is a review that, a rarity I know, but I will be talking about spoilers. So for now, besides all those negatives, I will also say that I thought the ending was atrocious. I thought that some of the cinematography didn't really work. The music choices also didn't fit, I think, at all. And I also had a really big problem with the story, not just the script, but the story itself with what they were telling as the film progressed. And Paul Feig's directing really was meandering, I think. And I really didn't like this movie. And that's why, for me personally, Last Christmas, I'm giving it a 1 out of 5 star rating. I really didn't like this movie. I thought it was a disaster on so many levels. And it stinks because I was very much so excited for this movie. I like Emilia Clarke. And that leads me to saying this before I get into the spoilers. If you thought Game of Thrones Season 8 was a disaster, if you think Game of Thrones Season 8 was a disaster and that it throws away characters and plot and like it just brushes by all these things, watch this movie and come back to me and you'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, Chad. Because, again, Last Christmas throws everything but the kitchen sink in and it doesn't work at all. Because why would you throw a kitchen sink? Doesn't make any sense. But anyways, let's get into spoilers. So the first thing I'm going to say is with the spoilers, again, you've been warned, this is spoilers. The twist is that Henry Golden's character isn't real. It's a figment of Emilia Clarke's imagination in the movie. And they Fight Clubbed us. And the thing is, my one friend, he saw it coming. And I was prepared for it because as soon as he said it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's obvious. And it wasn't the fact that it was kind of obvious to one of my friends. It was the fact that it doesn't work when you're trying to make a movie in 2019 where it's like, make a movie that's progressive. And it's like, not only is it kind of toxic that you're showing like a woman needs a man when it's like, it's 2019, equality is important, I think personally, but you're dealing with something that's very tricky because she is relying on someone in terms of that they are imaginary. She's relying on them to help her out as a coping mechanism, but we don't know her mental state. That's pretty much dropped. After they dropped the twist, they dropped that altogether. It's like, you could have easily made that a meditation on like mental illness, or maybe she wasn't mentally ill. I don't want to like assume that, but dive deeper in this. It's important. Instead, they just drop it. And that leads me to, there's a subplot involving Emilia Clarke's sister, who is a lesbian, and her lover, and how they don't reveal to like her family, her parents, that she's a lesbian, she has a lover. But then they reveal it at like a dinner table, and the sister gets angry, and then 10 movie minutes later, all of a sudden the family's like cool with it and everything, and she's happy and everything. I'm like, well, you weren't happy with your sister revealing it, but literally 10 movie minutes later, it's like, oh, I'm okay with it. Makes no sense. And also, there's this whole thing with Emilia Clarke's character where she's not happy about her whole name, like Katarina, I think her name is. She just wants to be called like Kate. And there's a scene like on a bus, and it really bothered my one friend, and it's understandable because it is a very terrible scene, but there's a scene where these two characters are being racist towards these other two people that also happen to be from the same ethnicity as Kate's character. And essentially that scene is literally just that racism is literally just to give Emilia Clarke's character the realization that she wants to be called by her actual name and that she's proud of her ethnicity. And it's like, okay, cool, but that doesn't mean we have to see racism that feels so out of left field just to get that point across. Like, you can literally have a scene where she's with people and she's just talking with someone and she's just like talking about like her past and everything. Like something. Give us something instead of a scene that feels so forced. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this movie altogether, it just feels very forced and meandering. Like, I could go on and on about this movie. And it stinks because I didn't even mention this in the non-spoiler part, but the movie's not funny. Emma Thompson plays a overbearing mom, and she has like a thick accent, and it just doesn't work for me at all. I was cringing every time that happened on screen. And there's other examples as well, but I'm not going to get into it. And it's for the sake of my sanity, honestly, if I'm being real with you guys right now, 100%. So that was just some of the things I just wanted to get off my mind. I believe romantic comedies are an important genre. I know that's going to sound funny saying that, but I believe it's an important genre. And so it's very disheartening to see a movie that is stuck in the 1980s and just doesn't understand what equality is. It stinks. It really does. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you have a script that's so terrible? So, all right, I got that all off my chest. Last Christmas, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And what did you think about it? What's your favorite Paul Feig movie? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.